All right, let's jump right in. We're going to explore a really revolutionary idea today. What if the skills you learn in the beautiful chaos of motherhood aren't just personal things, but an actual, powerful professional code? A code that could completely change the way we think about work.
I mean, just read that. This one sentence. It's a declaration. It's not framing motherhood as a break from a career. It's framing it as a career in itself. A 24/7 gig with incredibly high emotional stakes that up until now has just gone completely unrecognized. And that's really our starting point. So, the big question is, why haven't we seen it this way before? And that brings us to our first section, the invisible economy. We're going to pull back the curtain and see why these incredibly valuable skills have been hiding right there in plain sight.
Now, there's a term for this, and it's called great professional invisibility. And listen, this isn't about one person getting overlooked. No, this is systemic. It's a massive, collective blind spot where we as a society just fail to see the high-level management, logistics, and emotional intelligence skills that are absolutely essential to running a home.
And you know this invisibility? It has huge, real-world consequences. The argument here is that our workplaces today are struggling. We're seeing crises of trust, massive burnout, people feeling disengaged. And it's happening precisely because we're clinging to these old, outdated models of leadership that completely ignore this other skill set.
But what if we can make these skills visible? Well, that's exactly what this next part is about. We're going to uncover what you could call a hidden professional curriculum, one that shows you where true mastery is found, often in the most ordinary, everyday moments.
So let me ask you this. If I said, where do the most sophisticated professional skills get developed, what would you say? Probably business school, right? Or maybe some high-pressure corporate job. But the material we're looking at suggests a very different and maybe surprising answer.
Think about it. Managing a family budget is basically a masterclass in economic expertise. You're doing resource allocation, optimizing everything, and you're practicing what's called infinite investment. This idea that investing in people gives you returns that just keep multiplying. That's high-stakes financial planning, happening every single day.
And then there's the psychology of it all. I mean, de-escalating a toddler's meltdown, negotiating peace between siblings, managing the emotional temperature of an entire family, that's what's beautifully called the diplomacy of hearts. It's a level of interpersonal skill that CEOs spend a fortune trying to learn.
And this is brilliant. It even applies to hard skills. Childproofing a house? That's applied safety engineering. Juggling school runs, meals, and doctor's appointments? That's complex operations management. This isn't a stretch, it's just reframing reality. So here's the bottom line. These skills are real, they are advanced, and for way too long, they've been ignored. Okay, so we've identified this hidden curriculum. Now what? What do we do with it? This brings us to the core solution here, the Motherly Code. It's a framework for a more dignified and honestly, a more effective way of working.
At its heart, it's all about a very specific kind of communication. It's not just what you say. It's about how you build an environment of trust, growth, and security through your words and actions. It's basically the fundamental operating system for human-centered leadership. So this code, it's built on 4 key pillars. It all starts with Sweetkaravani, which is the language of acceptance, creating that safe space where people feel truly seen and valued for who they are, no judgment. Next up is Dhairayavani, the language of patient strength. This isn't about being passive. It's about being the calm in the storm, holding steady with resilience. Then you have Vikasavani, the language of development. This is all about actively cheering people on, fostering their growth and potential. And finally, Rakshavani, the language of protection. This creates a foundation of trust so solid that people feel safe enough to fail, to learn, and to take risks. Together, these form a really powerful model for how we can all interact.
Okay, so this is where it gets super practical. Let's move on and see how this code isn't just for home life. It can completely reimagine what leadership looks like in the corporate world.
And let's be super clear about something. This is not another talk about soft skills. You know, calling them soft just totally diminishes their power. This is about a fundamental shift. It's about moving these skills from the sidelines to the absolute center of how we build and lead our organizations.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. The old way, it's all about control, top-down authority, and investing in traditional assets. But the new way, the one inspired by the Motherly Code, it builds security on a foundation of trust. It champions authentic engagement over raw authority, and it prioritizes investing in human development. It's a whole different ballgame.
Look, this isn't just some feel-good theory. We're talking about measurable business impact. The argument is that this approach can tackle the massive trust crisis we see in HR, create real harmony out of workplace chaos, and build an unshakable kind of security that's based on the actual capabilities of your team, not just a rulebook.
So what's the end game in all of this? That brings us to our final and maybe the most profound idea, this concept of an infinitely multiplying legacy.
This quote really gets to the heart of the whole philosophy. You know, traditional business is obsessed with ROI, return on investment. But this model suggests a different kind of investment entirely, one you make in people, without expecting an immediate transactional payback.
And the return on that kind of investment, well, it's infinite. It really is. Because when you truly invest in someone's growth and their sense of security, that value doesn't just stop with them. It ripples out through their work, their teams, and into the world in ways you could never even measure.
Because at the end of the day, this is about legacy. A real legacy isn't a building with your name on it or a number on a balance sheet. It's what you awaken in other people. That's the value that actually carries forward, influencing people you might never even meet. It's the most sustainable and the most human kind of growth there is.
Which leaves us with this final, really provocative question. For decades, the world has told us we have to choose. It's either family or profit, career or caregiving. But what if that's a false choice? What if the very principles we learn from family are exactly what we need to create a more profitable, more productive, and more human future of work? That's the challenge and the opportunity that this idea leaves us with.